Welcome, we're back. Another episode of the Footy Forum. We haven't done a debate one for a while. I think we did our longest streak of +1s actually. I think 4 in a row. So we're back with a debate episode. Great timing because everything's starting to come together in terms of everyone playing the same number of games in the Premier League. And we're down to about the final 5 games for most teams. So we're here to basically have a couple of debates, see what everyone's thinking in terms of who's going to make it in the top 4. I think the title's decided, but top 4, top 6, 7th as well, the bottom 3. Bottom 3 is a bit of a, we'll kind of get there, but there's a lot to talk about, so that's what this episode's for. But this weekend's going to be a double whammy because we've got this one coming out on Saturday, I believe. We're just filming this the day before, and then we're doing a Super League episode as well with some special guests, some familiar faces coming on. So that's going to be really cool. So two episodes this weekend. So this is the first one. Make sure you check out both. We also just want to say this weekend we won't be posting on social media because we're standing with everyone in the sporting world, even though we are a very small player in it, in terms of taking a step away from social media to, as part of this boycott, to communicate the same message that these social media companies are not responsible for what is being said, but they are responsible for putting preventative measures in place to avoid online abuse, because it is unacceptable. Like in the real world, you are held accountable to your actions. The same has to be done on social media. You have to be held accountable. You shouldn't be able to be anonymous. You know, people try and get away with things by wearing balaclavas and stuff like that. But you can't allow that to take place on social media. Every account on social media, whether it's a business account, a personal account, there has to be some sort of identity verification of a person that's attached to that account, someone that is held responsible for every account set up on social media. So we are also taking a stand because we also agree with everyone, Sky Sports, the football world, the larger sports world, that it has to be stopped and it cannot continue. Right, to the episode now. So the way we're going to do it, Jovan, you look like you want to say something.
On a positive note, obviously it feels like we haven't done an episode in a while. That's why we haven't. I mean, I think we skipped last week, so we're back. We're back here, just looking basically at all 4 faces here. Morgan is looking more and more like the dictator as days go on. That movie, if no one's seen it,
Ahmed Aladdin.
Age appropriate. And Alex and Dan, what's going on? How are you guys?
All good. Oh, happy.
Let me just insult Morgan and just check in with everyone else.
I'm great, thank you. Thank you, Jovan. I'm great. Thanks for asking. I'm fantastic.
Unbelievable.
Well, that's great.
I'm doing well over here, and I put on some special clothes for today's episode, so I'll do the unveiling now.
Oh, okay.
But
retro.
Yeah, I'm ready to go. It's a retro. It's been donated by my good pal Alan.
Big up, Alan.
True West Ham fan.
Alan.
Yeah, and I told him he should have brought it to me sooner. If he had, the past few games, I should have had it for luck, but I've got it now, so I've got a good feeling. But yeah, I'm ready to go for this debate episode today.
Let's get right into it. Let's start with the top half. Let's do that. Let's do it that way. So the way we're going to do it is, if you've seen previous episodes, we've got a new structure to it. So we're going to try what we call Bull Street. Name is still pending copyright or potential changing. But yeah, Bull Street. So what we're going to do is we're going to present each team with a context, be it top 4, top 6, whatever. And you'd say whether you would buy or sell. Buying things you think it's going to happen and therefore appreciate, or selling because it's going to lose value, depreciate because it won't happen. Basic concept. So let's start with Leicester. So Leicester are currently in 3rd place. They're 4 points ahead of Chelsea. Remember, we're filming this before the game on Friday night against Southampton. So 4 points above Chelsea, 7 points above West Ham in 5th. So they're basically 7 points ahead of teams outside the top 4. Buy or sell Leicester in the Champions League next season. Alex?
I feel like Leicester's gotten themselves into a decent position. They've got a decent, distance from the teams that are behind them. That being said, I've been noticing the past week, and Morgan, you and I talked about this, I don't know, on our call the other day, whenever it was, but these bottom of the league teams have been coming and doing all these upsets and creating all this, chaos. And they have a decent amount of bottom. They've got a mix of top teams they're going against and bottom teams they're going against. So this is a lot of pressure. It's like a lose-lose here for them on a lot of things. And just because of West Ham, I'm gonna say sell. I'm gonna go bold. I'm gonna say sell.
Whoa! What the hell? What?
Basically,
I'm speechless.
I'm selling.
Wow.
I know. I wanted to cause some drama.
You're saying Leicester's not going to play in the Champions League next year. I mean,
I get the West.
I think that's what your
West
question
Ham
was, right?
perspective, but oh boy, no. They're okay. I get it, but look at it's one thing if they're playing look at Burnley, what they did to Wolves last week, of saying that's a team that's maybe on some good form, obviously battling for relegation. But Southampton, obviously by the time they listen to this, that match will be played. But I just look at I think Southampton are in trouble because they're in such bad form. They're just been non-stop falling down the table the second half of the season, and it's getting to the point where you're thinking, hold on a second. When we talked about Southampton, we said we sell because we don't think they're going down, or we buy even. But now you're looking at they could go down. We'll come back to Southampton, but you look at who Leicester have to play. Newcastle. Yeah. We all know what I think of Newcastle. I just think Leicester will put themselves in a strong enough position that I think they'll be okay in terms of maybe not third, but coming in top four. I think the worst they'll drop down to is fourth. I just can't see them falling out. I'd buy. No doubt.
So, okay,
Yeah, I think my statement is a bit outrageous. I agree. But, and I know your hate for Newcastle, but the last 4 games for Newcastle have been shockers, in my opinion. And they've been getting results. And so I think that game's going to be a pretty exciting one. And the only reason I say sell, a major part of it, is because I'm so on the fence and I want to stir up this conversation, so I want to say sell.
I can't believe you're on the fence, though. That's what because it's how are you even on the fence? I get what you're saying, but I think by the time...
You're pulling a Morgan here. You're kind of just being dramatic. Morgan's like, it's possible. Sheffield United going to be safe after this year. At the end of the day, I think Leicester are super underrated. They have the best British manager that exists right now, that is in the game. And there's 7 points. 7-point gap with 5 games to go. I mean, the guaranteed they will be, although without Claudio Ranieri, they were there about 5 years ago with him, but they will be in the Champions League next year, guaranteed.
I think you're right when you say they're underrated. They've got 7 points. They're third place, but I don't hear people talking about them like they talk about the other teams, So
that's correct.
Yeah, because sometimes when you do the right things, you fly under the radar. It happens. I mean, fair play, Alex, but wow. Okay, let me put this question to you.
When I go to Vegas, I avoid the casinos, so don't have much respect in my gambling, but.
Chelsea. Yeah. I'm just going to start off. Definitely buy. They're 3 points clear. They've got some tough games. They have Leicester. They have City. But I think you look at Fulham, Arsenal, Villa. For me, that's got to be 9 points there. There's no reason why they can't beat City or Chelsea. Sorry, Dan. It's true. It's true. Your team is shambles.
Yeah, but what happened when they came to the Emirates? We smashed them 3-0.
Sorry, who was their manager?
Frank Lampard.
Okay, so that's okay, I don't need to follow on from that. So 9 points there. They could also get points against City and Leicester. They'll do enough to, and that also isn't counting for teams below them dropping points. So I think you throw all those together. Bye. Chelsea will be in the Champions League next season, be it from winning the Champions League or from the league.
I mean, I would buy it just because I think Tuchel's a good manager. I would say that the Fulham and Aston Villa games are probably the only easy games. I think Arsenal will be a tough fixture. I do think it will be a tough fixture. I just don't think it's a guaranteed should be 9 points. But I think under Tuchel they have made significant strides in the way they play, and that's obviously been, in the Champions League as well as the Premier League. And I can't see any reason why they don't make top four. I think the teams below them are just simply not as good as them, and I think Tuchel's got Chelsea playing ridiculously well at the moment. I don't see him dropping form in 5 games, really.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I want to add on to that too. Like, this came up in the Nuno episode, and if you haven't watched the Nuno episode,
Nuno
the Nuno episode. But we talked about Chelsea being this new consistent team that maintains possession and how that's changed. And I think at this point in the season, like, having a team that's consistent, that can keep possession, that can gain control of the game, because you're having all these crazy results where all these teams at the bottom of the table are desperate and just throwing whatever they can. Like, you need teams that can be composed and consistent. And for me, Chelsea in the running for the 4th spot, they have been the most consistent in terms of just keeping the ball, and so I do lean towards Chelsea in the sense that they seem like the safer kind of bet, because they're able to, like, their possession percentage or whatever is like crazy, like their ability to keep the ball, and that gives me a bit more confidence when it comes to these crazy matchups. So I think it's a good bet for Chelsea.
Yep. So I think we should just keep the ball rolling, really. West Ham, phenomenal season. They do find themselves 3 points outside. They've had some tough games, obviously losing 3-2 to Newcastle, couple mistakes, went down to 10 men. It was always going to be hard, but just the character they showed to get back into that game, I think, was impressive. Some tough games. Burnley, who are a side really, fighting it down there, had a great result against Wolves. Everton, who are a tough side. Brighton, who, even though they're at the bottom, will be a tough side and they'll be fighting. West Brom, by that point, I don't know, that's going to be hard, but then a very winnable game last game against Southampton. All of them, very winnable games. You can easily look at that and say 15 from 15. But, likewise, you could look at that and say maybe 8 or 9 points. So in terms of West Ham in the Champions League, let's go to Jovan. Are you buying or selling?
Selling, guaranteed. West Ham will not play in the Champions League this year. However, I mean, we've already talked about this. So, David Moyes, what he's done, he's kind of reinvented himself. We've already talked about that. But he also deserves credit, just like a guy like Brendan Rodgers deserves credit for what he's done. However, you've got to look at it and say, Chelsea, kind of what Dan mentioned there, Chelsea's a top team, and right now with that 3-point gap with 5 games to go, West Ham will not win all 5 games. That's guaranteed. And really, when you look at the next 5 games, it's not that easy. I mean, Burnley are still not safe. You got Everton, who are now obviously after the result against Arsenal, they could finish in that 5th spot. So you have basically from 5th all the way down to 8th. You have Tottenham, Liverpool, West Ham, and Everton all fighting for those 3 European places. That is good money for clubs like West Ham, like basically everyone in that case. But in terms of what it means for Liverpool and Tottenham, they won't be happy with it. But I mean, in the end of the day, the question was, will they be in the Champions League? And the answer is definitely not. No chance.
Dan?
As Jovan said, I agree. I don't think they'll win the remaining 5. I think Everton's a tough fixture, and then, like you said, Morgan, I think Brighton as well, fighting right down at the bottom, will provide them with a tough test, I think. So I don't know if 5 wins. I do fancy them actually to stay 5th. That's not the conversation we're having, but I do fancy them to stay 5th. Depending on how Liverpool fare, obviously. But no for Champions League, but potentially almost certainly for 5th, in my opinion.
Yeah, so before I come to Alex, because I think she's got a lot to defend against here, we're kind of piling it on here. But West Ham, for me, as I did say, 5 winnable games. But you look at a couple factors like injury. They have injury problems at the moment. Mikel Antonio, Declan Rice. These players are out at the moment, and they're key players to what they got. They're not a team with a lot of depth. So when you lose a couple players, it really, really shows. So you put that into the mix. You also think about the fact that these teams they're playing, okay, they're not kind of up there in the league, but look at what a team like Burnley, with like a lot to play for, a sense of urgency, against a team like Wolves, who don't have that. Look what they did to them. Do you know what I mean? So those games are almost harder than, even Southampton on the final day, depending on where they are, they could be fighting. So these teams aren't just going to be pushed over. I'd rather look at who Liverpool have to play. Teams like Wolves, teams like maybe Aston Villa, teams like Crystal Palace. Those are teams you want to be playing, really. I mean, you might throw Leeds into there, but at the same time, Leeds are unique in the way that Bielsa, they fight for every point they have. They've done it all season without any sort of target. They just play each game really hard. So, but I mean, those are some tough games. So you combine the fact that the number of teams just below them, Everton have a game in hand still to play, and there's too many teams fighting there that doesn't give me enough confidence in West Ham to make the top 4. Combine that with Chelsea and Leicester also a bit ahead. It's not like 1 or 2 points. It's 3 for Chelsea, 7 for Leicester. I don't see how I'm selling.
I just want to add there. I think West Ham is going to finish 7th or 8th.
Wow.
That's my bold prediction.
Wow.
I'm interested in Alex.
Wow. Alex.
I mean, yeah, so, I don't agree with 7th or 8th, but what I am going to say next may shock you in that I would sell. And I would sell because I don't want them to be in Champions League next year because it's not their time yet, I don't think. They've finally started to kind of establish themselves and have people take the team seriously. They've got Jesse Lingard becoming this star and lots of talks about him staying there and what that would mean. So exactly. So before they can tie up their superstar, I don't think getting themselves into Champions League is smart because and maybe getting them into Champions League is it's gonna take to tie up Jesse Lingard. So, there's 2 different ways you could look at it. But I don't think they're ready yet for Champions League because there's a big difference between being an underdog and getting all the way to the final and getting to that, first, second place spot and it being motivating to come back the next year and be like, oh, we were so close and next year it's gonna be it. But personally, I don't find any motivation in 4th place is not close to me. It's not going to put a fire to make them, to really make them think that it's close enough kind of thing. So if you get them into this high pressure space before they're ready, it could ruin all the work that they've been building. And, West Ham, for me, the thing that drew me to that team is that they don't have, 5-6 big ticket players on the team, but they work together as a unit, and I think they still need to do that and figure out what their formula is and figure out what their thing is and kind of establish themselves a bit more before they're throwing themselves into Champions League and risking ruining all the kind of work they've put in. So I think sell just because I don't want them in Champions League next year because they need time to establish their identity a bit more and lock down some of those players and get those injured players back and really build themselves so that when they do have a Champions League campaign,
what
means
about
something.
Europa though? You see them in
Europa? Because it would be a waste. I think Europa could be good because it gets them to that competitive level, but it's not the same stage as Champions League. So it's getting them to kind of experience what that is and see, what they truly, because Europa and Champions, it really exposes teams and shows them where their weaknesses are and what they have to work on. And I think that Europa could be good for them because they can really figure out, okay, we've got this foundation, we've kind of built ourselves up. Now, where do we need to fine tune and fix our team? And then Champions League is that's when you're on the international stage and you want to have your things worked out. You want to know what works and what doesn't work for your team. And I feel like they're lacking in the full 11 at the moment. So I don't think that they're there yet, but I respect what they're doing. That's why I like the team. I respect the work they're doing, but I don't think they're there yet. So that's kind of where I'm at on that. And I feel like for the games that are coming up, they're such tricky games because I agree, like it seems like an obvious 4 or 5 for them. But for them, between getting injured or getting red cards or whatever it is, like they already are a team that doesn't have tons of goals for. Like, you know, their goals for, goals against is not that great compared to the other teams that they're up against for 4th, 5th kind of spot. So they're already like need to work on scoring goals, in my opinion. And when they're getting red cards, like that's not helping them. So like for me, they need to go they can't get any more red cards. They have to be full strength and they need to, you know, focus on the 5 games, in my opinion. But that's where I'm at.
So Morgan, I know you want to move on from West Ham, but I think also we have to look at this a little bit more objectively. West Ham is not anywhere near performance-wise, and also where they are is a Chelsea. Why should they be winning these next 5 games? 5 of 5
performance-wise, what are you saying right now?
They're playing 4 teams that have to win to either stay in or they're playing Everton.
Whoa, but you said performance-wise. What on earth do you mean by that? Like performance-wise?
Because they're going out and dominating games. Look at their form. They lost against Newcastle. We've been going
winning
on
football
about the whole
matches
season.
isn't about dominating games.
Look at the form they're on for the last 2 games. You're saying, they should win 5 out of 5. That's what you said.
No, I said they could win 5 out of 5. You look at those games, and you can see them winning every game.
No, I can't. No one sees that. They're playing against Burnley. Burnley who just beat. They're staying for the 100 and 150 million of staying in the Premier League. They beat Wolves 4-0. They're playing against Everton, who I think might be a better side and have a better than West Ham. And you also got to look at Brighton, who you've been raving about the whole season, who's fighting to stay in the Premier League. Then you have West Brom, who basically is there still fighting. Who knows at that time maybe they'll be out. That's 4 games against 4 teams that need to win. Then you look at teams like Everton. Everton are playing at home to Aston Villa. They're playing the West Ham game. Sheffield United, Wolves. Those games are winnable games.
No,
there's 2 points between them.
But I hear what you're saying. But firstly, I'd never said they will win those games. I just said you look at all those games and they're winnable games. You put them against Man United. You put them against Man City, Chelsea. The teams above them, the few teams above them, I don't fancy them. That's what I'm saying. But I look at them and they could win those games. You're also forgetting to mention the fact that West Ham have shown character. You're saying it like West Ham have nothing to play for, but you see, West Ham have everything to play for, right? They want to finish as high as they can. So they're not going to just take a back seat. And they've shown character. Like, obviously they lost to Newcastle, but they still came back from what was a terrible first half, and they really showed a lot of character. And unfortunately, they got punished. They went down to 10 men. Joe Willock, right place, right time. But they've shown that character to come back in games. So there's still there's no reason why they couldn't win all those games. In theory, obviously that's a massive challenge, and obviously they're coming up against tough opponents for the reasons that you broke down.
Sheffield United could win all 5 of the games in theory, but we're not living that. We're using some facts.
No, but you wouldn't look at Sheffield United's games and say I could see them winning those games. I'm looking at West Ham's games and I'm saying, I could see them. That seems like a very realistic scenario. That's what I'm saying, because you take one game at a time.
Okay, let's put some money on it. West Ham's gonna finish 7th or 8th. This is directed at Morgan.
Yep.
7th or 8th. And what did you say? You're seeing them in the Champions League, or what do you think?
Well, let's work through. Let's work through the rest, and then we'll each give each other where we think teams are going to finish.
What do you mean? Put money to your beliefs. 5 out of 5. If they win the next 5 games, I'll give you $1,000.
But I haven't. I haven't said that they're going to win their next. You're not listening to my words. You need to do something called listening. Okay. They can win all their games. How many points? Okay, let me be a direct. How many points do I think they're going to get?
Yeah, how many?
9 or 10.
They'd be
9 or 10.
Yeah, they'd be lucky.
10.
They'd be lucky to get. Lucky.
Okay, I'll make a bet on double figures. Them hitting double figures in their last 5 games in points.
I don't care about points. I care about where they're going to finish. 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th.
I have them 7th.
7.
So we're on the same team. You have them 7th.
Yeah.
Die. Okay, well, we're wasting our time. Let's move on. Basically, you agree with what I'm saying.
But I never
You're
disagree.
also
This
saying-
is the whole point. The whole time you're saying that I think they're going to win all 5 games. I never said that. I introduced the topic by saying you look at all those games and they're winnable games.
So basically what you're saying is me and you both agree that they're both going to finish.
When I say a
not in
winnable
5th,
game, I'm
not-
looking at that game and saying, do they have a 50% or more likelihood of winning that game?
Yeah, but then you're just wasting your time because that could happen in a lot of cases. Oh, the 50%, yeah, maybe
I get
they
it,
could.
but this is all hypothetical.
Come on with an opinion. They're going to win the game or not. Not, they could in theory if maybe they're going to become the next Aston Villa next season.
Okay, Burnley, yes. Everton, no. Brighton, draw. West Brom, yes. Southampton, yes. That's 10 points.
In theory,
that's 10 points.
Sure.
No, you're asking me
That's
for
what
my
you think.
prediction. That's my prediction for you, my friend.
Okay, so what's the prediction? They're gonna beat Burnley, no problem. Okay, the team that's fighting to stay in the
I
Premier
didn't say no
League,
problem, but
cool.
they'll win that game,
No.
yes.
They'll win it. No, they'll win it. That's what you think. You think what's happening against
Everton, no. I don't fancy them against Everton.
You're gonna lose.
I think
You're
so.
gonna lose, or
I think
what's
they're going to
happen?
lose.
No, they're gonna lose. That's
Yeah.
what you said. No, I think this.
Lose.
Okay, fair.
Draw.
Brighton. Draw. Okay.
Lose.
Next.
West Brom, absolutely. I mean, win, sorry. West Brom are going to
They're
lose.
gonna lose?
They're going to win dominantly. Because West Brom are going to be
Okay.
down by then. They're going to have no mental...
Sure.
Southampton, they're going to win that game. Southampton will be on terrible form. They could go down, but we'll get to that.
Okay, we'll see.
10
that's
points.
interesting.
10
I mean,
points.
for me,
There you go.
That's bold. That's bold that you go out. Okay, you predict 10 points. That's ideal. And the cool thing is, 10 points won might not even get them 5th, maybe 6th, 7th.
Yeah, I think 7th. I think Everton and Liverpool will finish above them.
Yeah, so we just wasted the last 10 minutes because basically I've been arguing and you said me at the end they're going to finish where I think they're going to finish.
You just don't listen. That's your problem. It's funny being on the podcast where you don't listen. That's interesting. Okay, so time for Liverpool. So they obviously sit 6th, 1 point behind West Ham. A tough game this weekend against Man United. But apart from that, again, you could say teams fighting at the bottom. But you got Southampton, who are worse form right now in the league. West Brom, who kind of on the edge of relegation, really. And then you got Palace, who are a very beatable team. So some winnable games there. So what do we think about Liverpool?
Morgan, before we go into this, you and actually let's all try to do a Jamie Carragher impression. So Liverpool, I always thought you guys have like the Southern English accent.
no.
Leo behind the scenes has
a chance.
It's just not good. It's just not good enough, right? It's just not good enough. Hey, it's just not good enough.
Yeah,
I don't know if I even want to see Alex try that.
I can't do it,
see
but
that.
No. No.
Or me. Please say me. Please say me.
Dan, I want to see you give it a go, mate.
To be
Oh,
honest, I don't think it was fair that
Gary!
Jovan went. and now we have to follow.
Gary, they got no chance. That was terrible.
That's a little bit too much. I mean, but you had it good the first time.
Yeah. I've just
That was more
discovered-
Steven Gerrard.
Steve Gerrard.
I've just discovered the quality of my headphones because that was the highest pitch I've ever heard in my life.
Why, thank
Just
you.
Morgan screaming Gary down the
Yeah.
Okay,
No,
so
beautiful.
Liverpool. So what are we thinking about Liverpool's chances? Top 4, obviously 4 points off Chelsea. Buying or selling?
No, simply because Chelsea's too good, and I think that they've put themselves in a position where they're not in control whether they're going to be top 4 or not. They had chances, they slipped up, and although they obviously have a big match against United at Old Trafford coming up, and they have games where they should be able to win if they're at their best, which they basically haven't found their best in a while. So again, that's a big if. But the issue is, it's not down to them. They're 4 points off right now, but Chelsea won't drop that many points. I don't expect, so definitely no.
I mean, I would probably again sell just because I don't think, as Jovan said, I don't think Chelsea. I think Chelsea are too good, and I think Leicester are too good as well. I don't see Liverpool have had a really sort of disappointing season, obviously after their title win, and it just hasn't really gone well for them. They've dropped, they've had problems with injuries, but they've dropped some points where they really shouldn't have done, and I just don't see. I mean,
that stretch at home was just something else, wasn't it?
I couldn't believe it. That's why I don't think they've got their games. Their remaining 5 aren't too bad. I don't fancy them against United. I think United will probably beat them, especially sort of after what happened last night in the Europa League. But yeah, even with the games they've got, I think Chelsea are too good, and I think Leicester are better than them right now as well. So yeah, I don't see them getting in top 4.
Yeah, there's too many. Before I hand over to you, Alex, there's too many maybes. Like, could they beat Man U this weekend? Maybe. Will Chelsea drop 4 points so they can go level with them? Maybe. And there's too many maybes. I can't handle maybes, so I would not be buying that stock, because you don't buy stocks if it's a maybe. So that's where I sit with Liverpool. Alex.
Yeah, it's a sell for me too. I mean, I agree. Like, Chelsea, I just feel is too strong right now. And although I do want to make a point though here that, we were all so easy to say sell on Liverpool, yet Jovan had no problem with Morgan saying that he has, they're going to win the next 5 games. But that was an issue with West Ham, so I'm a little, what's up?
Wait, what do you mean?
Oh. So
Wait. Alex.
Yeah.
Explain what you mean again. Just reiterate for me.
So you looked at the next 5 games that they have coming up when you're kind of doing the intro for Liverpool buy or sell.
Yeah.
And you kind of made a quick comment saying that the next 5 games they shouldn't have a problem, but you never know, kind of thing.
This again. Okay. Yeah.
And everyone seemed fine with that. But they're got very similar teams that they're playing. So I mean, I'm not trying to suck us back into that.
I know, but I said that I didn't think West Ham would make top 4 either.
No, I agree. I'm just saying that I feel like we've established earlier in the episode that these teams that are in the running, like the 4, 5, 6, 7 teams, I don't think they can have a 5-game sweep, any of them. So that's just. So
no, I agree with that.
I didn't say.
I would agree with that.
I didn't. I mean, do I have to say it in another language? Like
no,
Morgan.
No.
Basically, why is the question?
10...
Why do you make the Champions League? No, they're not going to make the Champions League. We're just asking a question for no reason. The question should be: are they going to make the Europa League? And I think the answer is definitely yes. They're probably the team. I would say they are safe in the Europa League. If you ask me about West Ham, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, because Everton, for some reason I see them heating up. I mean,
I agree. I definitely agree. Like, you look at
the question: should they make the Champions League? The question is, that's like the same as saying, okay, is the Lincoln City going to make the Prem? It's not going to happen, dog.
Okay, dog. Before we, dog. So, base 7th, 8th. Let's just talk about Spurs Everton quickly, and then we'll talk Europa. But Spurs, okay, just quickly, Spurs, shambolic it's been for them at some points this season. You look at 7th and you're thinking not bad, but then you got to put it in context that halfway through December they're top of the league, they've beaten City. To go from that to now be 7th, it's got to have been a landslide. I don't think it's any point getting into a Mourinho discussion now, and kind of Spurs season. We'll look at that, when the season's done. But for me, I look at Spurs games. Obviously, they got Sheffield United coming up. Wolves, who aren't, in the best form, they should be winning these games.
But course the rest of the season, they're playing at the goal. Every single one of those teams has nothing to play for. Which one of those teams have, other than Leicester at the end of the season? They have.
Yeah,
I
but
think they
that's
have
what I'm
one-
saying. I know, but that's what I'm saying. Okay, Sheffield United, though, different story, because you just can't see Sheffield United winning a game. But the other teams there, you would go into that thinking, okay, confident, because, they'd have nothing to play for. But with Spurs, and, bringing in Ryan Mason, who, credit to him for getting in this position, the youngest Premier League manager, but he has no experience, right? It was funny seeing, like, the cup final head-to-head of, like, Guardiola's experience against Ryan Mason. But, combine the team and the form they're in with all these other factors, you don't go into those games confident. Like, I don't even know if they'll pick up, 3 points in each of those games, Leeds, Wolves, Villa. I'm not saying they won't. Of course they can, but I just don't have confidence in them to do so, like I would a West Ham or an Everton. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if like other people picked up on this, but just like the Carabao Cup game, City Spurs, the way that the commentators, pundits, whatever, the way they were talking made me so like it felt like they were giving Spurs a participation ribbon for just showing up to the game. Like, I don't know if it sounded like that, like where you guys were watching, but where I was watching in Canada, like listening to how they were talking about it, it was kind of like, oh, good effort by them, but obviously City's gonna win. Like, and it was the same thing too, like comparing like, Pep and just showing like it's such a sad, like, this season has been a very sad story for the Spurs in my opinion.
It has, like, it's... But, like, you watch that cup final, and it literally felt like Man City were playing like a team at the bottom, or even a team in the Championship, where, in terms of how the game went, like, it was all one way, and you knew the only way that the other team, or in this case Tottenham, were going to win, is by, like, some counter-attack, or, like, some fluke chance, and... Hold on a second, this is Spurs. Like, this is a big club. This is a club that's just gone to a 60,000 stadium.
Morgan, would have Mourinho would have been the most ideal for a team like that, for a team that's going into it that has player to player.
No, a Mourinho team needs a solid spine, because Mourinho plays out from the back in terms of the most important thing is defensive structure. Like, you need that defensive structure. Chelsea set the record for the least goals conceded in the season.
Right. So my thing is, would Mourinho have been better suited to manage in that final than a guy? I don't even want to talk with that guy, Mason.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, why they got rid of him? Like, I don't know. Yeah. But also to add, like, Spurs. It's not like getting to the cup was obviously getting to cup final is an achievement. But if you actually like kind of zoom in on it, Spurs. They beat Chelsea in a shootout. But you look at their path to the final, I mean, they got a bye they didn't even beat Leighton Orient, they got a bye because of COVID. And then they never really played anyone where you're like, okay, that's even the Premier League, like they beat Brentford, I think, the round before. But they never won a game where you're like, oh, that's impressive. Like, it was a pretty straightforward route to the final. So, if you're not going to win it, it really doesn't count for anything. So, their search for silverware continues. I'm not confident at all about them kind of final 5 games, but we'll come back to that. Just to add here, so Everton, they have a game in hand, so they have 6 games to play, and it's really strange because when you look at it, all the other teams have played, and when you look at the fixtures, Everton only have 5 fixtures on there. It's because the Everton-Aston Villa game was postponed a while back, and they haven't actually rescheduled it yet. Same with the Southampton game, which we'll come to. So we don't actually know when the Everton play Aston Villa at home on this weekend, actually. And then they're meant to play at Aston Villa at some point, but it hasn't been decided. So that's interesting. So we don't know when that's going to be played. But yeah, so they have a game in hand against Villa. They could win that. That will put them at 55 level with West Ham. Do we see Everton sneaking into a Champions League spot?
No.
I think this is... Oh, go on. Sorry.
Question. The question should be, who is going to miss out of Europe? That's it. Everton's not going to the Champions League.
We'll ask that in a minute. I'm just confirming that because they'll be 1 point ahead of Liverpool. And they have a pretty straightforward... Apart from... Well, they do have City on the final day, but they do have other games which they should be winning. But yeah, no, I agree. No Champions. I don't see the. I don't think any team really could crack into. I just don't see it. Crack into Champions League.
If one of them did, if one was to drop
That's
from
the
the top
question.
four,
Yeah.
all of you, like if you could pick one that would sneak in, I would personally say Everton or Liverpool, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's.
If it was either of them.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you look at Liverpool, they've picked up their form. They've got one tough game against Man United that could go either way, and then they have 4 very winnable games. So I agree. If there was one team who would capitalise if Chelsea were to drop enough points, or Leicester, I think, as I agree, it would be Liverpool. Just based on
Let's go back to reality now. Let's go back to reality and see who's not going to play in Europe next year, because I don't know the answer to that question. I'm actually genuinely interested in what your guys' thoughts. Like, what team is less equipped? Yeah, which team is going to finish in 8th position?
In 8th position, I would say probably Spurs, if I'm honest. Because their games are like against teams that aren't really playing for anything, but I still don't. I don't really see them, especially now they've obviously. I don't think they said they're looking to hire a manager until at the start of next year. So they're going to have Ryan Mason. So it could be a case of they sort of have to sit down and sort of accept that maybe they're not going to be playing the most competitive style of football, and then sort of they've got teams like Leeds who have proven this year they can score quite a few goals a game. Exactly. So I like the Leeds game. Like, I can see him losing that by a decent margin, genuinely. And same with the Wolves and Aston Villa games. Like, they're decent sides on paper that could. If Spurs had Mourinho still, maybe I would have said they could even go 5th, maybe even 4th. But now there's just this, and they've lost the Carabao Cup final as well. I think confidence is going to be an all-time low, and obviously the manager's not there anymore. Ryan Mason. As much as I respect it, I don't think he can lead him to higher than 7th or 8th. But I'd have him 8th if I'm honest.
So no, I mean, you can't really like that's one of the teams that I think could very well be in 8th at the end of the season. Now, you mentioned something that I'm not exactly sure about, and it's if Mourinho was at the helm, you would be more confident that able to sneak into potentially the higher spots. Now, I think he's gone for a reason. We agreed not to talk too much about Mourinho right now because there's a lot to talk about there. But there definitely was something wrong or something that wasn't, quite right.
It was behind the scenes. I told you guys about this. It was behind the scenes. It was agents getting mixed up.
Right. So that's without getting into the details, that's chaos, right? So part of me feels like they have these next 5 games to basically, obviously they're going to lose to Man City. They lost 1-0. I mean, it could have been 4-5-0. They beat Southampton. I mean,
12.
Who's to say they're obviously disappointed? Kane's, you could see that he's obviously distraught. But the point is, shouldn't they be feeling like they have nothing to lose now? They got 5 games. The young manager who's to say he's he has obviously an experience, but that doesn't really mean too much when you got 5 games to go and just
they really have nothing to lose. They have nothing to offer Kane in terms of keeping him around. You have nothing to lose. You got to go for it. Play a more freestyle of football. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't be so compact and like.
Good players.
But then that could open them up to teams like Leeds. Realistically, like that style of football.
But who cares? They're at a point where who cares? Who cares? Like,
no, but that's what I'm saying. So I think they might drop some of the games they possibly would have won.
You think Spurs fans?
When they have a stronger
You think Spurs fans want to see them in the Conference League playing in the final in Albania? Do you think that's what Spurs fans want to see in their new stadium, the UEFA Conference League? Are you for real? They have nothing to lose. It's not like, we've got to make sure we get 7th. Like, Europa League.
Yeah, no.
Look what happened in Europa League this year. Like, just go for it. But you want to hear my thoughts quickly. I do think West Ham will finish 7th. I think Everton will finish 6th and Liverpool will finish 5th. That's how I see it.
So you're saying Tottenham's going to finish outside as well. That's what you're saying, right?
I think Tottenham could finish 9th. I think Leeds could overtake Tottenham still. They still have to play them.
Right. let's think with our heads, not with our heart. Listen, so basically, you're giving Tottenham the worst ending to the season. See, I don't know. It's a tough one. Obviously, I'm not gonna.
Effectively.
When I'm thinking about it, maybe I'm not giving enough respect to West Ham, but I honestly think that West Ham could also potentially drop out.
You're telling me West Ham will finish 8th?
There's a great possibility that.
No.
What?
No.
Can I just ask both
no.
of you? Like, I'm interested to.
No. Calm down.
I'm interested to know though what makes you two think that West Ham, just because like, not that I'm saying you're wrong, I don't think you necessarily are, but what about the team and the 5 remaining games they have, because they're not tough fixtures? Is it because you don't think there's not enough experience in competing at sort of that end of the table maybe?
It's both, in my opinion. I mean, remember back to Leicester last year, a team that was still building, kind of like Moyes almost. Moyes came in there. He's still building a project. They fell off because they, like teams that have, with crazy experience that have had success in the past, they are more clutch, let's say. This team doesn't have that experience of playing potentially in Europe or the Champions League or whatever. So I think they, on that note, could probably fall off in these next 5 games. We haven't even mentioned the teams that are playing. They also have a pretty bad form. They lost, obviously, to Newcastle, which shouldn't really happen when they're fighting and they're trying to be that
It's not
clutch
as
team.
simple as that. You have to read into this, like what happened in the game.
And also, obviously, Chelsea. So let's look at the teams they're playing. When you say, okay, they're not high up the table, but I think at this point in the season that means nothing, absolutely nothing. When you're playing in the Premier League, Burnley, they beat Wolves 4-0. What team would you rather play right now? Guaranteed it's Wolves. Guaranteed it's a team like Villa. You'd rather play those teams. So
I don't
Burnley's
disagree
gonna be
with that. I don't
Okay,
disagree
great.
with that.
Well, great. Everton, who's fighting, as we said, they have more of a part for the Champions League once they play that game in hand. So that's going to be a massive game there. Then we also look at Brighton.
Oh, wow.
Brighton is another team that's fighting to stay up. Who knows what the situation will be like potentially if Fulham can get a few more points. It might be even closer, so they'll be fighting for their lives. And then obviously you have West Brom, and then you have Southampton, who at that point could be winnable games. But at that point, I think it's going to be too late. That's why, really, I mean, I'm not saying for sure. It's a little bit bold to say they're going to stay outside of Europe. But when I can see teams like Everton and teams like Liverpool finishing above them. I mean,
I don't. But you think Spurs can finish above West Ham in 7th?
Yeah, could happen. Yeah, for sure. If Spurs get on a nice run with this Mason guy, I mean, in the Premier League, they won the game against Southampton. Southampton is nothing special. If they can win their games, they're all winnable games. They're all teams that are on the golf course, including your Leeds United. I mean, sure, why can't they win, let's say, 3 to their last 5 games? I mean, they're a good team. I'm an Arsenal fan. That has nothing to do with how good Tottenham are. I'm being objective as possible. And they are a good team. And when they have that, remember how they played under Poch. I'm not saying Ryan Mason's the next Poch, but get that freedom, get that new face in. Let's not look at the Carabao Cup.
They clawed their way to a win, like thanks to a penalty against Southampton. I know, but you're not going to get that 5 games in a row against Southampton, the worst formed team in the league at the moment. I mean, it says something on Southampton. The fact that they were leading, they lost their lead to the team that are famous for losing their leads. I mean, that just sums it up for Southampton. But my problem is, you talk about Leicester last season. It was a slow decline. It was the second half of the season. It just slowly went downhill for Leicester. They were in a very strong position.
Were they not in the Champions League for like the last few years?
I know, but their dip in form was consistent throughout the second half of the season. There was just no consistency there that they had in the first half. And here's what I'm saying. So West Ham have 5 games left, and they're right up there. All season, we've written off West Ham, not just us on the podcast, but every just generally everyone. No one thought they could sustain this all season. Well, here they are, and I feel like 5 games left. We've got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, look, I'm still saying that I can see Liverpool and Everton finishing above them, but I think 7th is very achievable against the Spurs, who are 2 points behind, not in good form either. With new manager, they lost their manager. You know, the team have no morale at the moment. They got to a final and they lost it. I just think it's unfair to think West Ham.
Any team could lose against Man City in a final. Pep in a final.
I know. No, that's not what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether they lost to Man City or Rochdale. I'm just saying, losing in the final. You saw how upset Human Son was. Like, losing in the final is hard, and you've got to now bounce back for that and fight in a league that you're just remembering. Oh yeah, we're not going to make Champions League, so we'll just do what we can here. I mean, the only thing to motivate them is the fact they look down and see Arsenal. But
with a team like that, they're not going to be happy with as you mentioned, the or no Europe, like could happen to some big teams. They need to be the whole team will be aware of how important it is to be in the Europa League. Like when we talk about the money involved is pretty substantial, even in the Europa League. I think we're talking about somewhere in the 20 million pound mark.
Yeah, but then your argument of saying they've got nothing to lose doesn't stand because they have everything to lose.
No, they don't want 20 mil is not everything in football. But I'm saying that's what it won't be like, okay, screw it, we lost the final against the best team in the world. Let's go have our head down in the sand. No. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it's not. We
have a 27-year-old manager. They have a 27-year-old manager. They have nothing to. They look at that. They're like, okay, who cares? Let's go up to bat. You know, the guy might be a great. They probably love the guy, but it's just a team that like, hey, let's go have fun for these next 5 games. We're a good team, and we're playing teams that are playing golf, including Leeds.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go and put West Ham ahead of Spurs. Just because that's how I think.
They get written off all season, right? All season, West Ham have been written off. They won't maintain it. They won't sustain it. It's a big summer window for West Ham if they want to keep at this level, but that's a separate conversation. But I just don't think it's fair to give Spurs the benefit of the doubt over West Ham based on what 100%. I've seen this season.
If we're looking at the season, like West Ham has put in a better show than Spurs and should, I think will be ahead of them in the table. 100%. Whether they stay in that 5th spot or they break 4, I'm really iffy. I don't want them to break 4, like I said earlier, but if they could be 5, 6, that would be amazing because they're then still in reach. It's like they can have that momentum from being so close. But yeah, I don't think top 4 it's the right time for them to be top 4. Nor I'm so on the fence about it happening, and I don't think it's the right time. If it somehow magically works out to happen, I don't think it's the right time. So I'd put them at 5 is my most hopeful.
I think finishing 7th, like, and being in the Conference League instead of the Europa League, could be a bit of fun for West Ham. Do you know what I mean? Like, they could actually compete in that and potentially win it. I think that would be exciting. Who wants to see Liverpool, going into that competition and just destroying, the opponent? It just doesn't make sense. So I quite like the idea of West Ham being in that league. It gives them a chance to rotate the squad a bit as well, especially in like the earlier games. So I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, my only like concern is what position in the table do they need to be to lock down Lingard? Like, because they need him.
Yeah,
they need him. So
I think Europa League. You're saying, hold on a second. Didn't the team you got on loan from just play in the Europa League? So I think Europa League's a strong argument. Obviously, Man United's done better this season, but if I'm Lingard, these are too many conversations for another day. But if I'm Lingard, I'm definitely looking at going to West Ham. But let's spend a bit of time here before we round off looking at the relegation battle. I don't know if you can call it a battle anymore. Yeah, it's definitely hard for me to call it a relegation battle, but there's still some teams hanging around. Brighton, I think all of those teams there could still go down, in terms of when you look at the mathematicals. But I mean, it is going to be like tough. I think of that Arsenal game against, Fulham Arsenal. I think that really does show you what the saying, football's a matter of margins really means. You defend hard all of the second half, and then in the final dying minutes, they concede, and it really dropping 2 points as well. On 29 points, you're looking at that very differently, and you're saying, Fulham have a chance here. because you look at who they have to play still. Still got Burnley, Southampton, Newcastle. Now, I'm sure, you can, especially for like a team like Burnley who are in good form and have been a good side at times this season, you can make the argument say Burnley are going to win that game. But, you look at Chelsea, Fulham. Fulham have no chance against Chelsea. I just don't see them getting anything. Mm-hmm. But then Burnley, Fulham, Fulham have a chance in that game. And, that's 9 points they have a good shot at getting. But you look at the gap, 7 points, getting 9 points will bring you, level with the other teams. I mean, it's a big ask. It is a big ask. I think that defeat was too shattering. I just can't see Fulham doing it personally. And it's a shame because we all know how insistent I was on Newcastle going down. But, credit where credit's due. I wouldn't say the team, but like, it sees how important St. Maximan and Callum Wilson are. I mean, they pull it out the bag. And Joe Willock, to be fair, who they brought in. I still don't think he's a great player, but he's found himself in the right place at the right time on multiple occasions. And sometimes that doesn't come down to chance. You obviously are getting in the right areas, and he's been effective coming on as a substitute. So, and sometimes, again, matter of margins. Those times that Joe Willock's popped up for a goal has meant an extra 1 or 2 points, and that has been enough to probably put them safe, those goals, I would say. So that's where I stand.
Let's be honest. Morgan said it correctly. He's like, in the end of the day, you'd be asking a lot to say that Fulham's going to stay up this year. A miracle would be that they win those 3 games that you mentioned. That would be amazing to see that they win all 3 of those games that they should win. And even then, other teams, I think, could at least pick up a point. Brighton's probably going to pick up 3 points. It's over, right? But here's a question that I think is pretty valid. Out of those 3 teams, which one do you see coming up right away next season, if any? And I'm leaning towards. I'm pretty confident one team potentially. What's your guys' thoughts? And what team has no chance? Because I see one.
Why not start off? I think there's only one team. There's only one team that I see coming straight back up, and that's Sheffield United.
Wow.
No way.
Hold on a second.
What?
Dan, think about what you're saying for a second, okay? Norwich finished bottom of the league last year, and they went and dominated the championship.
Sheffield's a good team. That is a good team. And
let me explain, okay? They are a team. I keep saying it. They're terrible season, but you compare Sheffield United to the Derby County, the infamous Derby County team, and that Derby County team are doomed. Sheffield United have the quality because they've had the players with a couple additions, and look what they did last season. They were challenging for Europe for most of the season. They kind of dropped out at the end, but they had a great season. And this year, I think it's just been a knock-on effect of confidence just slowly being teared apart, and just a loss of collectiveness in the team. You can see players now getting frustrated with each other. I mean, it's way past the point, but I think Sheffield United have the chance to bring in a new manager, really kind of re-establish that nucleus they have. They've got good players. I don't think they're going to start selling because, again, we had this conversation, Dan, about I wanted them to invest or get some more in the market, but instead they didn't because they wanted to have more financial security going into next season. And I think, you make a couple signings, maybe a couple loans from some Premier League teams, and you have a decent side that I think can come straight back. Now, my concern with Fulham and West Brom is that, for me, Fulham, I don't think Scott Parker's going to hang around because I think he'll get a better job offer. Really? So I can see Scott Parker losing. Yeah, I can see Scott Parker leaving.
Where would he go though? That's fair.
They're
but where would he
talking
go?
about the Tottenham job for him, which I could see. But there are other things on the table. We don't know what managers are going to get sacked at the end of this season. I just think there'll be projects on offer in the Premier League that Scott Parker may take up. That's all I'm saying. So, with that, I think they're going to lose some of their players. A couple of them are loans anyway. I do think they're going to start selling a couple of players. Some are going to go back up to the Premier League or go abroad. And I just can't see it all coming together next season. Who knows? Maybe Mitrovic will have a phenomenal championship season as he always does. He's a championship striker. Sorry, Jovan. But they may sell him. Who knows? Like, who knows who they'll keep? And then West Brom, I just don't have enough confidence in them. I think they're gonna, sell a couple players. And is Sam Allardyce gonna hang around? It's not really his thing, the championship. So
No chance.
I think
he would not have success in that league, man. He would not. He's a bottom 5 team a league coach. That basically is just like he's not gonna have a team that's gonna be successful over 46 games. I cannot see that, especially in that league. It's the hardest league in the world. And that's why Mitrovic scored the most amount of goals in that, I think, ever as a striker. Mitrovic, amazing striker.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's how I see it. I see. You're just asking me who I'm confident. Like, I'm not saying West Brom and Fulham won't come back up, but I'm just saying if I had to put my money into one team, it would be Sheffield United, 110%.
It's a good answer because that's another team that I think a lot of people wouldn't even think about, and I think Sheffield United have the ability to go there like they showed when they were in the championship before they dominated it. Fulham, I would back Fulham, but that's if they have Scott Parker, if they don't kind of unravel for say like.
I agree, but I just think they will.
Yeah, if they do, then it's a different headache, right?
I would agree with that. I think if they lose Scott Parker, I think their confidence would. I think.
Yeah, but not if. What do you think is going to happen? Because I've said what I think because what I think is going to I've said that's what I think is going to happen.
Okay.
But if you're saying if you say I think Scott Parker's going to stay, then tell me what you think will happen in that case. But it's whether you think he'll stay or not.
I think
he's got strong attachments to the club.
As you said, yeah, I know, and as you said, you don't know what the situation is going to be with a lot of teams at the end of the season in terms of sacking their managers. So I do think he'll leave because I think he's done a good job at Fulham, despite where they're sat. I still think they're a decent side. They'll do well in the Championship under him, but yeah, I do think he'll leave, whether it be at the end of the season or partway through their Championship season. And if he does leave, then I'd see Fulham mid-table Championship even.
Has he done enough? I don't know. I never really understood it. Why he's getting such a good, such praise. Scott Parker, a great coach, this and that. I mean, sure, but has he done enough? Surely, if we look at English managers that could possibly take over, Crystal Palace when Roy's gone, or maybe who knows what's gonna happen with Burnley, etc. But you look at it and think, I would rather Eddie Howe. I would rather, those managers coming in. And Scott Parker, what has he really done? I mean, he got Fulham promoted and then never really got kicking this season.
Well, let me ask you this for a second. I think their final lifeline was the Arsenal game, but I just want you to think about this. Look at those 3 games Fulham have. Okay. They got Burnley. Do you think they can beat Burnley? I know Burnley are favourites in that game, but can they beat Burnley?
Of course. They almost beat Arsenal.
And Southampton and Newcastle, right? They're 3 winnable games, correct?
For sure.
And you sneak a point against either Chelsea or Man United, maybe. These are very hypothetical. But then just look at Southampton's final 5 games. Leicester away, Liverpool away, then the Fulham game, Leeds, and West Ham. You're looking and you're saying, if they don't beat Fulham, where are they going to get any points? And then you're looking, thinking...
I mean, Newcastle's games as well isn't even that good. They've got a pretty tough run in as well, Newcastle have. So...
Well, the thing about Newcastle and Burnley, irrelevant their other fixtures, is they have to play Sheffield United. And you're never going into a game against Sheffield United looking at that saying, I don't fancy the other team. Do you know what I mean? You look at that, and I think that's a lifeline that I could see both of them getting to 39 points, So, I look at Southampton, though, and I'm saying, you never know. If Fulham can win those 3 games, even be level on points with them, suddenly they'd probably overtake them on goal difference, and you're like, they have a final chance, maybe. Brighton have to win the game. They have to beat Wolves.
I think they need 10 points. The thing is, if Fulham pick up 10 points, they probably will be safe. They probably will be with 37 points. Like that should keep you safe. Maybe goal difference and they got unlucky. But the issue is, if they were that, and they could go on a run, great. You know, all these if. But at the end of the day, if they were able to win all those games that they should win, then they probably wouldn't be in this position.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Because then you phrase the question as, based on what you've seen, do you think they can actually go and do that? And
I don't
put everything, just the Arsenal game, you know, you can't hang on for the final couple minutes despite all your hard work. Like, no, I don't see it. No. I'm just saying, though, they beat Burnley. Suddenly it's a different conversation. Suddenly, you know.
I don't disagree with that.
Morgan loves living in hypothesis.
I do.
Man.
You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. I do. This stuff excites me, thinking about the potential that's still there. You know,
He's like
think about
the guy that's
Sheffield
got
United.
the string in his room that's like connecting all the things on his wall.
Just like a madman. Just like a
Yeah.
madman with all the... Just like Chris Wilder's face, just like dartboard out.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, so I mean, it's interesting, but yeah, I think that's the only way. Because, you know, you look at Southampton, and they're just on terrible... They got Danny Ings, who's going to be injured now, potentially out for the season. I can't see them, never mind winning, I can't see them picking up points. You know, and then it comes down to that Fulham game. But if Fulham beat Burnley, they're going to beat Southampton. That Burnley game is the biggest game of the season for Fulham. That Burnley game.
I feel like they got to pick up a point against Chelsea though
No.
have that same. No, I feel like they have to.
They do, because you know why? Because if they lose another game, no one's believing that. Then they're basically, you know, they're not going to think like mathematically, yeah, we're still in it. But that one little point could have them up for that game. Just the idea potentially. But then we're talking about a Thomas Tuchel team that I think is the way I seen them play. You know, against Real Madrid. I mean, they're playing well. They're playing very well, and he's a good manager.
Yeah. I mean, they are looking like a dangerous side next season. I mean, the thing is, though,
Yeah, for sure.
it's the same side Lampard had. So you looked at that side this season. I fancy them as an outside title shot, but unfortunately, Lampard didn't get the best out of his squad. They have so much potential, but he didn't seem to get out of them. They didn't really have an identity.
Next season,
They
maybe.
knew what they were doing, but yeah, next season. Suddenly,
100%.
you look at that, and you know they're in the market for a number 9. The market for the strikers is going to be crazy this summer. Everyone's looking for one. But yeah, interesting. We'll wait and see what happens. So it's been an interesting episode. Just trying to look at and figure out kind of where the final 5 games are going to go. It has been, as me and Jovan have said many times, a topsy-turvy season, and I don't think we're done yet. I still think there's plenty of twists left. There's a lot of exciting games. Make sure you circle them in your calendar. And yeah, this has been the first part of our 2-parter. It's been a wild week. So this was focusing on the Premier League as we head into the final 5 games. And we also have an episode dropping tomorrow for the European Super League, having a look at everything that's kind of gone on there. We've got, as I said, a couple familiar faces, special guests coming in to join us to share their thoughts, you know, as we hear from inside the football world. And just want to, you know, re-emphasize that we stand with everyone in terms of stopping online abuse. It cannot go on any longer. It will not be tolerated. Yeah, any final closing remarks, guys?
No, it's been a good episode. I think if you want us to pitch in and get you a razor to shave the dictator beard off, do it. Other than that, everyone, thanks for listening. If you made it this far,
Definitely.
and we'll talk to you later.
Yep. This has been TFF. We will see you very, very soon. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and take care.